Wake up. Let's take it to the beginning, to where America started. In 1492, the country England sent a man named Christopher Columbus out sailing with a crew of men. Now they went out sailing, searching for new land to be free of their country. Now when they landed upon North America, you already know the great story. People were already here. But pay attention to this New World article. It confirms that the continents were already populated by the indigenous people. Pay closer attention to where it says that we didn't originate here, but also claims that we were here for 20,000 years. How does that make sense? After landing here in 1492, over the next 200 years, they would learn our ways of living, dissect our culture, and oversee our teachings. Over those years, England would sail back and forth to North America, exchanging information to Great Britain. It took them 200 years to create a master plan to invade the Indians and turn their free land into a new world, because that's when the 13 colonies were originally founded in 1607. They named them the 13 colonies because they were split upon the 13 royal families that came from England with the master plan. Pay attention to 13. There's many articles based upon the 13 royal families you can read about. After conquering the land in 1607 and naming it the 13 colonies, they needed to build the new world. And obviously they couldn't do it themselves, so they enslaved people to do it for them. So physical slavery started in 1619, and then 150 years after that, that's where you get the creation of the United States. The United States were no longer called the 13 colonies in 1776. Remember, I said pay attention to that number, because when America officially stamped the United States in 1776, they created a flag and it represented the 13 colonies by having 13 stripes. Now that America was stamped in 1776, 20 years after that, they started the U.S. currency by giving us coins first. And then paper money came in 1861. So they found a new land in 1400. They took over in 1600. They renamed it and stamped it in 1700. And then they gave the first currencies at the end of 1700. And then they gave us a new currency in 1800. So now that the new world has started, the new control weapon was currency. On the back of the first $1 bill, they printed Annuent Coeptis Novus Ordo Seclorum. What does that mean? When you translate Annuent Coeptis Novus Ordo Seclorum to English, it literally says, he nodded at the beginning of the new order of centuries. New order of centuries sounds like the New World Order. Remember, I told you to pay attention to that number because the pyramid has 13 lines resembling the 13 royal families. Pay attention to the 13th line where the Roman numerals are written. Roman numerals from Rome, the place 900 miles away from England. The numerical value of those Roman numerals equal to 1776. That's the same year United States started. When you come over to the right side of the dollar bill, you'll see that they have 13 stars above the eagle, 13 stripes on the shield, 13 leaves on the olive twig, and 13 arrows in the eagle's foot. There's also a code written in Latin on this symbol as well. E pluribus unum. What does that mean? When you translate that to English, that means out of many, one. Now here's a quote from a member of the 13 royal families. He states, "The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire. And I control the British money supply." That means he controls the British Empire. Now, this is where we are at. We're at the bottom. We're the population, the workers, the taxpayers. We're amongst the sheep. Now, the level above the population is population control. This is the government, movies, the entertainment world, police, religions. Even though the population control are amongst the rich and famous, there's people that pays them, and those are the corporations above population control. See, the corporations are mainly three-letter entities. These corporations need money to control everything, so the level above them is the Federal Reserve, which is the banks and the tax-paying dollars of the people of the bottom. And the level above the banks are the think tankers. These are a body of experts that give off great advice to shift political power. You need great, brilliant minds to carry out all this, right? Now, the level above the think tankers, better known as the Olympians, are the Enlightened Committee of the 300. They report directly to the 13 royal families and give them an overview of what's going on in the world. Now, the people above the Committee of 300 is the Crown Council of 13, the 13 royal families. These are the people responsible for carrying out all global efforts across the entire world. They're responsible for leading the world into the end times by doing it through a pyramid scheme created through the New World Order. Now, that pyramid scheme that I just showed you guys That's represented in America as the Great Seal of United States. I said pay attention to Great Seal because in the end times, God explains us living in a time called the Great Tribulation. So that explains level 8, the devil. So you just got to understand, we're living in the end times. God said in the end times, if you speak of my name, you'll be looked at as a terrorist. And if you notice, anytime you bring Jesus Christ up, it raises red flags. And also in the end times, we'll be given the mark of the beast, a chip as small as a rice kernel entered into our foreheads or our right hands. Well, so happily, the richest person in the world, Elon Musk, he patented a microchip in 2016 called the Neuralink. And this Neuralink is going to be inserted into our brains to ultimately merge technology with the human body. These are verses of the end times in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapters 13, verses 16 and 17. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads. And that no man might buy or sell, save that he have the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now, if you notice, the pandemic just happened. Those were the trials of the end times. Who's going to take the mark? If I volunteer this to the world, who's going to take it? Because a little while after volunteering it, I know y'all remember, they started to force it upon restaurants, transportation, your occupation. They started saying you had to get vaxxed. You have to get the mark. There's only 8 billion people on the planet, and more than 5 billion people took the vaccine. So that's more than half the population, 72% to be exact. You just got to wake up. It was scientifically proven that we didn't need this vaccine, but yet they confused the whole population. And I believe that the pandemic was the trials of the mark of the beast.